Okay, so soils are probably the most important thing you want to think about in terms of analyzing your land and what it's capable of. And so what we're going to talk about here a little bit is analyzing the soil and looking at what's there and what isn't there. Now, in doing this, well, what you want to do is take a sample of your soil. And that's a good way to look for soil insects. Here we've got about a square foot. Take about a good square foot. Go down, dig it out. You can take this soil out of here. Let's see if I can get this. You can take it out, you can throw it up here in the wheelbarrow. This is good to do when it's a little damp after a good rain. So I've perforated a square foot. Now you don't have to take the whole thing out, but you can get a good idea, get access to it. And what we're looking for here is a couple different things. First of all, we want to look at the soil profile. You've probably already done that. If you've been digging in your land, you have an idea of how much topsoil you got. Down here in this part of the world, we have very little or no topsoil. And you get an idea. It's not bad soil because it's been getting worked. And this is good to do not in your growing areas. You know, of course, those are in good shape because you've been juicing them up with compost and cover crops. This has a nice stand of vetch and some clovers coming up in it. So yeah, that's in great shape. But your non-growing areas, over here we're near a cherry tree, but not up underneath it where we're under the drip line affecting the roots. But we're a little ways from this bed of asparagus and this bed that had some beans and stuff in it. So going down here and taking a look at it, yeah, it's important to know how much topsoil you got, because if you don't have topsoil, which is the case here, then it impacts your carrying capacity, or in other words, what the land's capable of producing. You never want to take it beyond that, because that's exhausting your nutrient base, and it's hard to restore that. Although most land's been abused, so most places are like this one, where it's a restoration project. Now, when you're looking at the soil, we're looking for soil insects. So we're looking for rotifers. Well, no, not rotifers, you can't see them. We're looking for millipedes, centipedes, sow bugs, and of course earthworms. Earthworms, if you got about, say you get about 10 or 12 per square foot, then I'd say you're in real good shape. And if you got more, well then you're in better shape. But that's what you want to look at in doing that. You can also look at plants. There are plants that are indicators of soil health. Things like chickweed, henbit, lamb's quarters, singing nettles, those are all signs of good fertility. Probably areas that have already been cultivated. Bad drainage would be indicators with like dock, horsetail, oxeye daisy, hemlock, Joe Pye weed. Joe Pye weed, buttercups, they grow more in wet areas. Moss, of course, is obvious that you're growing in a wet area. Here we've got a lot of different grasses. I've got fescue in this field because this was once a cow field. Then I've got henbit growing all over. Henbit's a good indicator of good soil. So clover, of course, anything like the clovers, that's going to be a real good sign. Chickweed, that's a sign of good soil. That's a good nitrogen builder. Plants like purslane, mustard, those are indicators of phosphorus. The big thick stemmed plants like dock, ragweed, poke, those are, well, poke and ragweed are more indicators of potassium in your soil. And then the things like burdock, yellow dock, curly dock, dandelions, sorrel. Those are, they say they're actually indicators of low calcium, but I believe what they are is indicators of soil that's low acid. Because when the soil's got a low pH, then those plants don't tend to grow there. And it's not that the calcium isn't there, it's that it's not available. Because, you know, when the soil pH is low, then your calcium is unavailable. That's why we lime our soils, to bring it up so that the calcium's available to the plants. There's some duck, various things like that. So, you know, it's an ongoing process. You have to look at what's there and what you can do to rectify it. The other things is, of course, the best thing to do about checking your soil is to get go to the Extension Service, and for a nominal fee, you can get a soil analysis. A soil analysis will tell you what the pH is, approximately, and tell you macronutrients. The other stuff is fun to do, but you know, why not do that? I used to work for the Extension Service. It used to be free. Now it's a very excuse me, it's a very small charge. So that's an idea of of soils. Just remember that soils are the most stable of the elements, and it's the one we can affect the most, and the one we can have the greatest impact on. Everything begins and ends with the soils, so it's very important to become part of your soil, and to be to be a good steward of the land means a good builder of soils. So that's basically I could go on and on about the soil aspect of analyzing your garden, but I'm sure you're already doing that if you work in land for any length of time. But it's important to look at your soils and look at the insects and the biology that takes place in your soil, and do it in very different seasons, especially when you're digging. You're doing that. So be one with your soils, I guess, or trying to have a deeper connection with your soils is very, very important. Okay.